because he actually did the majority of it.
That's fine. That's fine. Good evening, folks. Sorry we're a wee bit late. A couple of things to do, basically. Hi, Frankie, buddy. Apologies for our lateness, but we are here with the lovely Jennifer from the other side of the pond. So this is my first live in 2 weeks. I've actually missed it. I was looking forward to the night getting back. I was going to say back out there, but I've already been out there. You know what I mean. So
yeah, you did what, that somersault thing?
Oh no, I don't. That was you saw that, did you?
I saw it. Yes, I did. I saw you do the attempted somersault, and I saw her do the pencil roll.
I was not doing the pencil roll. No chance.
That's okay. I don't do somersaults either.
I did it because she challenged me.
Is that a challenge on site on the grass? Lovely.
Frankie's got it right. He's got it right there. A roly poly. Yeah, it was a roly poly. Hi, Sarah. I've only done 2, and that was it. I kind of hurt my head. It was sore in the head because also I don't have a lot of protection up there. You know. So even though it was on grass.
So that's what you guys do when you're not doing anything. You mess around and do roly poly stuff. That's great.
That's what PIH do when we're not busy. We roll about in graveyards.
We go out in the graveyards, yeah. That's what we've been doing.
It was good. We finished filming the rest of Darkest Mile, and it was a beautiful day, as you seen. The weather was absolutely amazing. Edinburgh was mobbed. Edinburgh was just chock-a-block. And we just had a really good day. And then Sam suggested the roly polies.
Sounds wonderful. We've been having heat waves. We've had 90-something to over 100-degree weather, which I know is not as much as out in the desert for most people. But when you're not expecting the heat to go whoosh coming in, you don't want to go out.
It was quite a smooth roll, Frankie. Thank you very much for your input there, buddy. Much appreciated. But the weather's been absolutely. I think it was 3 nights ago, it was like 27 degrees at 8 o'clock at night, which works out about 84 degrees. And that was about 8 o'clock at night. Nice. And I've had shorts on the last 2 or 3 days, and I've not apologised for it once. I've been outside with shorts on, and I haven't said sorry to anybody yet for wearing them. You know, and that's when you know in Scotland, you're having a heat wave when you see a Scotsman wearing shorts. And I think Frankie's got the same. He's got the cold fan on as well. But it's great.
Well, between our heat wave and everything, my husband likes to wear his utility kilts, so we're all good.
We'll leave that one with you, Flower. We'll leave that one with you. But tonight, Jennifer, Matthew, and Craig put up a video last week, wasn't it?
A week and a day or I forgot, but yeah, a little over a week ago.
A few days ago, we'll say a few days ago. How's that? A few days ago.
I was trying to get Craig to come on this live, but he said no.
We'll definitely need to get him on. You know, Frankie, Craig is Jennifer's son, and he's part of PIH as well. He's more
of a behind the scenes, but I do manage to capture him with photographs when he's doing things, but he doesn't like talking in front of the camera as much.
Don't worry, we'll get him up. We shall drag him up. Well, I won't drag him up physically. That's your job, not mine.
And so he was there. Matt was there. We, the three of us, we took a trip. We decided to take a Wednesday. While he was actually in the middle of his classes online, so he was doing his classes online while we were traveling to the cemetery. And
you get beautiful weather as well.
Oh, actually, we got really lucky that day that it wasn't overly hot, so that was nice. It was hot in the we're kind of at the base of the foothills, so when getting out from the base of the foothills and going up into the hilly area was so much nicer. It was like it was like a 15-degree difference in temperature.
Am I right in saying that Matthew wore shorts?
Uh-huh. And then he wished that he had actually worn pants because of all the high weeds.
Pants. See, you over there, pants obviously mean trousers. But over here,
Pants, jeans, knickers. He should have worn something a little longer, is what he was saying, yeah.
if he can get away with wearing shorts, and so can I.
Well, in this, the first cemetery that we went to, he was kind of regretting it at that point, because there was a lot of overgrowth and sharp thorns from thistles is not fun.
It's not. It's kind of like the same as strimming your garden. You know, the strimmers, strimming your garden with what's on. And you get the
that one I do not know.
I've done that a couple of times. I done it yesterday, I think, the day before I done it, and it's not the best idea. It's as much fun as standing on a plug. I mean, I think that'd be more fun because you got these wee bits of stones and all the rest of it shooting up. However,
considering this first cemetery, the first cemetery we went to was Dutch Flat Cemetery, and it was it's not. I mean, it's taken care of, but it's not like really taken care of. It's let's put it this way: I don't want to go to the cemetery ever again. I didn't like it. I liked the headstones. I loved the filigree. I loved all of the history, but I did not like the feel of that cemetery. It was not kind to me. Yeah. It's overgrown. It's out in the middle of pretty much nowhere. It's above the town of Dutch Flat. They settled the town about 1851, and then later they cleared an area to build, to bury people. And the cemetery is kind of weird. You have part of it on one side, and it kind of goes up the hill a little bit, and then it kind of branches out that way in a weird way. It's an odd cemetery.
So you said you didn't like it. Was that kind of a negative feeling you were getting from it, or?
I literally stood outside those gates for a good 5-10 minutes, maybe more. I walked up. I'm fine on the road. I'm walking up. I get right to the gate. I'm looking at the gate. There's no gate. It's actually just, the gate I call is where you walk through to go into the cemetery. And I just got to the chain link fence and went, no, I'm not going in. I just had this feeling that something very angry was there. Angry, sad, depressed. It was awful. I just stood there. I kept looking up and down, going, okay, where the heck is this coming from? Because it's not out here on the road. It's coming from inside. I even was polite. I'm like, okay, please let me pass. I don't mean you no harm. And I wasn't getting any answers. I wasn't getting any responses. It took Craig, my son, actually to come. He gave me his hand. He's like, hey, we'll go together, cross together. At that point, when I was able to take his hand and cross over the threshold, it was like going through a thick veil of I don't know how to explain it, like cobwebs and very thick fog all at once. It was really weird. But Matt and Craig were not affected by it. I was the only one affected. I mean, they felt things, but they didn't feel that. They were able to go everywhere all over the cemetery, where I pretty much went up 3 rows and went, nope, I'll take some pictures. I'm going back to the road. And that's what happened to me. So I didn't spend a lot of time in it. I'm a believer in my gut. I go with my gut. My gut was telling me, don't be here. Whatever's there does not want you there. And I don't know what it was. I still don't know what it was. And I had a spirit box on me. I had other stuff, but nothing came through tangible. Through the spirit box, I could hear whispering, and there's no radio. You can't even get radio broadcasts up there because it's just out of the middle of nowhere. So the
Mhm.
so the ghost box is going through all these empty stations, and I'm getting whispers over the ghost box, and I'm like, okay, I'm not going back in there. I'm not going back in there. Something does not want me there. I don't know. It's just, I know in the video you could hear it in my voice. You could hear that I was very unsure about being there. I didn't want to stay there any longer than we needed to. But that's why I'm like, Matt's like, hey, we can leave. I'm like, no, I'll stay on the outside here. You guys take your pictures. You guys do whatever you need to do with the cemetery. I'm fine as long as I'm on this side of the road or on that
Mhm.
side of the fence. I'm fine. I said, don't let me ruin this because whatever's in there does not want me there. I wasn't going to ruin that for them. It's like, we're fine. We're good.
Always you're in that one, but you're that happens. It's happened to Sarah as well. Very similar to Canongate. Way last year. Canongate's in Edinburgh. It sits at the bottom of the Royal Mile. And we went one night, and I picked up on it as well. It was quite a heavy, negative feeling walking in the gate. Sarah was like that. No chance I'm not getting any further. So, she sat just outside the gate. I think she either sat just outside the gate or back in the car. She left anyway. And there was another couple of people but I ended up, I said, well, I'm here. There is something quite negative here, a kind of heavy feeling. I'm going to go and do what I want to do. And I went for a walk around. And even when I came back out to the car, we were going to Greyfriars straight after it. And it was just as if you ever get the feeling, the best way to describe it is you get this feeling that something bad's going to happen. You don't know what it is, but it's in your head.
Yeah, it's like either something bad's going to happen or something is telling you that if you don't leave, something bad's going to happen. So yeah.
I was getting that just outside the graveyard. And then we went up to Greyfriars, but nothing bad happened. The thing was, the further I drove away from there, the feeling appeared, and that was it. Nothing came of it.
Well, what's weird? Want to see what's interesting? Oh, Frankie says, I felt that at
Canongate
standing by the statue. Oh, yeah, it can happen. Some people are more sensitive than others to certain things, especially cemeteries. Not everybody will feel everything in any cemetery. I mean, you can go to a modern cemetery and some people will feel things. Some people won't feel anything. Same with the Pioneer or even an older cemetery. So you can go to a cemetery, I don't know, say old Pompeii. Some people are going to feel a lot of stuff. Some people are going to feel nothing. So it really depends on the individual. I'm sorry, I don't mean to say I'm sorry. Too many verbal fillers.
Slow down.
I know, I got to slow down in my overthinking here. The more sensitive you are to the world, the more you're going to feel it no matter where you go. Cemetery, house, I don't care how modern it is, how old it is, you're going to feel it. It's true.
The statue that Frankie's talking, we know that statue well, Frankie. That freaks Sarah out as well. That statue, I think it's David Ferguson or something. I might be wrong with the name. That's not 100%. But that statue actually freaks Sarah out. Jennifer, the statue just outside the gate, as what he's talking about. But no, you do get that feeling. Thursday night, I was out with Sam, Shelley, and Johnny, and we were going up this. A few weeks ago, Sam and Shelley done an investigation at this location, and Sam got kind of freaked out, and so we went, "Hey, Andy, buddy."
There's Andy.
Frankie, you're right. It was a poet. I'm sure his name is Ferguson, but
as I said, no relation.
I know that's your surname, but Sam got kind of freaked out at this location. So the other night she says to me, we're walking up this lane, she says, see if you can feel anything, if you can tell me whereabouts I get freaked out. Because we never actually seen the spot where it happened to her. And so I was walking up, and about halfway up the lane, I was just like stepping into another room. Right. And I said, what happened here? This is where it happened. I said, and I get the image of a young woman walking up this lane, and I says to Sat, I says, it's right here. And there's a small bridge up ahead, and I said, it doesn't go beyond that bridge. After the bridge, there's nothing. It's this area here. And she says, you're spot on. This is where I get freaked out. And the atmosphere just totally changed. I know a lot of people would say that's nuts, doesn't happen. But I think you need to be in that, in a certain place to actually feel it yourself and realise that,
and be open to it.
that something's changed, something's, no right.
And where you're going, you guys are going to things that are way older than I'm going to. But in comparison, those are your pioneers and these are our pioneers. And those people that established those areas had huge energy and huge influences on our area. So you gotta wonder how much of that energy got left behind, trailed, or pushed on. Dutch Flat, don't get me wrong, Dutch Flat is a really cute. I mean cute because it's more like a picture postcard town it's a living ghost town. They do have stuff, or people still live in Dutch Flat, and there's a hotel there in the old Mason Hall. That's actually a picture that I took of the town. So I took 2 pictures of the town that actually you put into the video. I should have taken more, but it was a gold mining town, and so a lot of those people that died between 1851 to about 1870, and then afterwards it kind of teetered off. And then there are some modern burials up there, but not as many. So it's just it's just I don't want to go there again. I love cemeteries. I love them, and this one I just didn't want to be in any longer than I had to be. So,
you will get that from time to time. You see, you love cemeteries. We're the same, but sometimes you will come upon one where it's just a bad feeling and you can't explain it, and you think, you do need to go with your gut instinct. You can have. It's the same as you can have every gadget in the world with you. Meters, cat balls, whatever. But the biggest thing to trust is your own instinct, your own senses.
Agreed.
And if your gut instinct is telling you then don't do it, or I'm not comfortable here, then you leave.
It's not the first time. I mean, I've been to other places where I have felt that need of, don't go in here. No, we don't want. They can come in here, but you can't. I've had that, and I'm like, okay, I get it. You don't want me here. I'm listening.
Same like your gut instinct. If you feel you don't want you leave. I'm not dumb. I don't leave. I just get, it's that night I could feel the same thing Sarah was feeling, but I thought, what, no, I'm not leaving. I'm going to go and have a walkabout. And this was maybe about 2 in the morning, and it's pitch black, but I still went and had a wander about. Is there any, as you said, there was a mining town, and a lot of people, died in that time period.
They did. And then I found out some more history afterwards. I don't know. I'm not even sure if Matt knew this. I did some digging, and this Chinese cemetery of people because they actually did bury some of the Chinese there because they didn't know what else to do with them after they had passed away. A lot of them were dug up and sent home. So a lot of that area is now plays empty. So you have that going on. So you have that part of the cemetery. You had the founders, you had the gold miners, you had we had a cholera epidemic that happened during this time. So there's a lot that went on for a mining town that went through a lot of history, but it's harder to find a lot of history on Dutch Flat, which is kind of weird. You would think that a town that still has structure still about would have more history available, but this one you really have to dig a lot for. I found that very interesting.
Funny enough, you saying that, we're talking Canongate a few minutes ago. Canongate's the same. I mean, obviously our favourite location, everybody knows, is Greyfriars, you know, or Roly Poly Central, if you want to call it that now, whatever. Canongate is just equally as fascinating and as old as, maybe not as old, but you know, there's no much difference between the two locations age-wise, but you find a lot more information on Greyfriars than you do on Canongate.
Mm-hmm.
Or you know,
It's
whatever.
weird how that happens. It's like someone decided in history not to jot the history down. Oh, we're going to drop this much history down and then let everybody else figure out the rest of it.
I mean, obviously, Greyfriars goes back to the 1500s, 1502, I think was the first burial in Greyfriars. And then you've got the Covenanters prison there as well. You've got that's where the covenant was actually signed in that actual building, and you've got the plague victims. Right. So there's a lot in there, but Canongate has got its fair amount of history as well, probably, but it's just trying to find it.
Exactly, it's that proverbial needle in a haystack, but yeah, that was Dutch Flat. I don't think we stayed that long. I think we were maybe there 20-25 minutes, and then we took off, mostly because of me. And then we went to Colfax, which was the next one down the way. Colfax Cemetery is old, but not as it's more taken care of. It actually, they have a groundskeeper. It's very nicely maintained. The old section mixed with the new section. And it's beautiful. It was laid out beautifully. I did not feel weird at that cemetery. I felt better. I go from Dutch Flat to go to Colfax. Colfax, I feel fine. Dutch Flat, not so much. But Colfax, their oldest tombstone is about 1851. Is their oldest, and Colfax was yet another mining town. Also, the railroad was coming in for those areas, so a lot of these towns were discovered or started not necessarily with that name, but that's how they came to be. Mining camps came to Colfax about 1852 is when more of the mining camps started popping up, and of course, needing of a cemetery became more popular with accidents and epidemics and children. They do have a section over that's, I can't remember how long it is, but they have a section that's not as old as the 1800 or 18 whatever, but from somewhere in the 1940s up until a certain time, there's a section dedicated to children who have died. So they have that there, which is not unusual. I mean, there are a lot of cemeteries that do have that, but Colfax was definitely, it was, as I said, I wonder if it has a lot to do with the fact that it is well kept and people do visit it a lot, which does make a huge difference, because then that's bringing in all those energies versus Dutch Flat, where they don't get a lot of visitors, but Colfax does. Colfax has those pictures on the headstones. Those were neat, of the people that have died. Those pictures that are placed on the headstone of the people who died. Yeah, that was at Colfax. I counted 8 of them. There might have been more like that there. And they were still in really good condition. You can still see the way the people looked when they had that, when the picture was taken. And mind you, when they had those pictures taken, they had to hold very still to get their picture taken, because it took a long time to go through and process before they could actually unfreeze.
I mean, you're saying it well kept. There's a cemetery here where we live in Kilmarnock, and it's really, really well kept, and they've got a children's section as well. And I was over filming in it one day, but I never filmed the children's section. I just, it's something we will never do, is go in and film, because there's a few of them about. And I know other people have been in and done investigations in children's cemeteries and stuff, but I just think, my opinion, well, it's PIH's opinion, we just think that's taboo, because we're talking about kids here, and I know from my point of view, if I was a parent who lost a kid, the last thing I'd want to do is go into YouTube and see somebody film my kid's grave, basically. I mean, but that
beautiful picture of it just to make note of it, and it's there. But other than that, we chose not to talk about it for the film, because, well, one, these children that had perished or had died for whatever reason. These were children of those who were pioneers, or those who had established over time. So they are like second generation or third generation children that aren't buried in a family plot.
I mean, I watched last year. I didn't really watch it all. I just watched a wee bit. You know, not name any names. Just somebody done an investigation in a kid's cemetery, and they teddy bears and all sorts of bits and pieces and what have you. And to me, it was just totally wrong. You know,
it is. Well, I think it's how people approach it. I have in the past been, I guess you say, where there's children headstones, not like the cemetery of the children, but I've done investigations, and the more respectful I am, the more response I get. The people who are disrespectful and just act like it's a joke, it's horrible what they do. I wish people would give them a little bit more reverence than that.
It's horrible to watch. I mean, obviously, what we do, I watch a lot of channels and some you see some groups, teams, whatever you like to call them, and they'll get into cemeteries, you know, some children's cemeteries as well. And some of the stuff they come out with is just totally disrespectful to, you know, adult or children. And that's just to me, that's totally taboo, because my point of view is we're the same, you know, in death as well in life. We've seen people, you know, spirit-wise, we're only just missing the body. And, you know, you want to be respected in life, so you want to be respected in death as well. And if you're wanting these spirits to talk to you, if you go in and start throwing abuse at them, or, you know, just being an idiot, basically, they're going to turn around basically and say, you know what, I'm not talking to you.
Right, they're not going to. But as I said, we chose to leave that. I mean, the section was small, and there were other children burials throughout the cemetery, but this particular area was probably about, I don't know, 8 foot by 6 feet across. It was a small area, and it was the only one of its kind in that area. There was a military section, so there was that. There was the military section. There's the Masonic section, the Old Fellow section. So there's different sections, which we found later. The cemetery itself starts in sections, and then as it grows, cemetery grows, then the sections start coming together. So eventually, that's why I didn't know this. This is why they call it the Oddfellow Cemetery or the Masonic Cemetery, or whatever, because those areas were put up or bought by those groups, and eventually over time they start, they connect, which makes it one big
to the best of my knowledge, we don't have that here. I mean, they've got, like Jewish cemeteries and what have you. I know they've got one in Edinburgh, which I just found out the other day. They've got one in Edinburgh. But in our cemeteries and graveyards here, they don't have different sections. It's just kind of everybody.
Well, aren't you lucky? No, we actually, it's like a common thing. At least on the West Coast, it's more common. I think it's semi-common on the East Coast, but definitely on the West Coast, they do section off the areas, and that's how they get started. Even I don't live too far away from the Pioneer Cemetery myself. I've not taken pictures currently of it, and I probably should. And they do have the dedicated areas to the Masons, even though there's other Masons buried in the cemetery. But there's a dedicated area to the military, a dedicated area to the Oddfellows. So I don't know who or why it got started that way, but it's a common thing to see.
There is one cemetery that I know of in Glasgow And as I say, I might be wrong. There might be others all over the UK. There's one cemetery in Glasgow that's just came out of my head that had, just when you say military, it's got a small separate section, and it's all people died in the war and what have you. And that's it. As far as I know, I don't know if anybody in the chat knows any other ones in the UK. But going back centuries ago, if you were Protestant, you weren't allowed to be buried in a Catholic graveyard and vice versa and what have you. But that's changed now. Obviously.
Yeah, it changes over time. But it's just interesting, at least on our point of view, or from our area, the pioneers and how they chose to segregate their areas.
You go there, put him over there.
Yeah, exactly.
But
the rich can go over here.
As you see,
look at the cemetery, you can tell where the rich are buried because they usually have these gigantic tombstones, or they're ornate and they're gorgeous. Is that how that's pronounced? Kilwinning Cemetery has Veterans of the War Memorial. Okay.
So that's probably war graves there. Kilwinning Abbey as well. That's a weird place, that Kilwinning Abbey. Every time I've tried to film there, it's failed. Now, I'm not saying it's paranormal, but there was one day I went to a castle. I went to 3 locations. I went to a castle first, filmed there, totally fine. Went to the Abbey, filmed, and then I went to it's a big, huge park. It's not far from the Abbey, filmed there. Got home. My first and third locations had worked out. The Abbey never. So I went back at night one time, filmed again, and the same thing happened. It just didn't work. And then Sarah, Sam, Shelley, myself were there maybe, I don't know, Sarah, about a month ago, 4 or 5 weeks ago or something, we went there, tried to film again, and it was just hopeless. No saying it's paranormal, but we just, it's just this one location. It's as if it doesn't want to be filmed.
No,
camera shy, who knows? But just none of the film ever worked suiting. Have you ever had that in any particular cemeteries or whatever?
Maybe. I'm trying to think. I've been to so many. I've been to a really, really tiny cemetery that only had 2 people.
2 people?
2 people. Two people. They consider it a cemetery because there's the only 2 people that are buried there. I've also been to a cemetery that had was it 5 or 8 people only? So yeah.
I'm trying to picture that in my head. Maybe a wee. No disrespect to them,
No, it's fine. It's just we do have these what they call drop cemeteries, especially California and Nevada, where.
I'm glad it was too sunny that day for the footage. That's right, B.
Yeah, it's there's a family. They call it a family cemetery. That's not far from where I live. It's a good. Probably 40 minutes up the road after winding roads and stuff. Anyway, there's a family plot cemetery. It's only people that are buried there, and I can't remember how many. Like maybe 6, 7, or 8 people are buried there. So it's not necessarily uncommon. A lot of them are greatly forgotten. Their heads have been removed, so you don't know that the family's buried there. There's one like that in the middle of our butte. So yeah.
There's you've got a park over. There's 2 or 3 parks where we live in Kilmarnock. There's one park's called Dean Park, and there's a castle there. The castle's said to be active, but on the other side of the park, still inside the boundaries of the park, and amongst these trees, there's 2 graves. It's a man and wife that were connected to the castle, but they're a good maybe half a mile, 3/4 of a mile maybe away from the castle. They're just kind of buried in the middle. I think I've got photographs of him. I'm sure I've got photographs of it. Just these graves in the middle. It's a forest area, and there's these 2 graves.
Yeah, so it's not uncommon, at least, to have family cemeteries, as they call it. So versus a cemetery of many different people, the family cemeteries, they'll pop up here and there if you are able to find them. So that's what I find interesting. But anyway, yeah. So we went to Dutch Flat, we went to Colfax, and the last one we went to was Old Auburn Cemetery, which, tell you the truth, it looked more like a modern day cemetery than it did like a pioneer cemetery. It is so well taken care of and so groomed. Unless you looked at the dates, death dates, the birth date and the death date, you would not realize that it's that old. Because they have stuff from the late 1800s buried there, and most of the people were buried up until 1962, until they made a new cemetery, which is called New Auburn Cemetery of all things. It started getting buried there. But yeah, it was really neat to see all these. I'm more fascinated when I go into the cemetery and I see really unique headstones. I'll see all this filigree or it looks like a book being laid open. I'll just stare in awe, going, "Oh wow, these people either had a lot of money or they just got lucky enough to have such a wonderful headstone." It's hard to say.
I'm totally the same. I'm absolutely the same as you, Jennifer. That way, with headstones, I mean, also you get bring up Greyfriars again, but you get into Greyfriars and there's some beautiful, absolutely beautiful headstones there, and the amount of work that's went into making these things, creating these things, is absolutely amazing. And I done a video last year with a wee daytime walk around at Greyfriars, and it's just amazing how much detail goes into these headstones, and a lot of people walk by them and just say, "Oh, that's nice," "Oh, that's nice," "Oh, that's nice," and they'll just keep going. They don't actually stand and study them and read them.
Right, they don't. Sorry, for a moment there, I had to contain myself of laughter because Craig had come in and he's on the other side of the table trying to pick up stuff from this basket that has a bunch of goodies in it, and he's trying not to make crinkle sounds as he's lifting them up, and I'm trying not to laugh as he walks out of view of camera back into his room.
But that's when you make more noise, see when you're trying not to make a noise,
That's what he was doing, and that's why I'm like, that's why I did this, because that's why what he was doing. I'm like, of course you are, right in the middle of when Scott's talking.
It's totally fine. It's totally fine. They are amazing. They are amazing, Kathy, and it's amazing how you can put somebody's life story together by reading their headstone. One in particular down the bottom of Greyfriars. This thing is massive. I think there's 4 or 5 family members at a particular plot, and all the kids were all in their teens, late teens. They all passed away before the parents did, And then we found one. I don't know, Sarah will be able to tell us. We were out and we found another headstone, and it was, the mum, dad, and 3 kids. But the kids had all passed away before they were 11 years old. They all passed away very, very young, and both parents outlived them. Mm-hmm. So it makes you wonder, what happened to the kids? Was it some kind of disease? Was it a plague?
Well, I can tell you, at least in our area, a lot of the pioneer cemeteries, I mentioned the cholera epidemic that we had. It swept through California, and a lot of the children were very susceptible. We had cholera, diphtheria. We had lots of those diseases that came through, and a lot of the children perished because of them. And they even had, let's see, a lot of them are, when you look up their death certificates, it says childhood disease, and they won't say what it is. They'll just say childhood disease. I'm like, okay, childhood disease. Probably because they weren't sure what it was, honestly. Not then.
Frank, you say, I don't know if you've ever been to any of these in New Orleans, Jennifer. Have you ever been?
Not yet. I want to get there. I want to go there, and I don't want to go to the main ones. I want to go to the ones that are outside of the touristy area, because the touristy area, everyone goes to Marie Laveau, everyone goes to everywhere else, but eventually, one day, I'm going to get to New Orleans, and I'm going to go there, and I'm going to go to the outskirts cemeteries.
You can do it as a live. You can do it as a live.
If I ever get there, yeah, I will. Well, hey, when I finally when I move to Oregon, I'm hoping to do some lives up there, because there's a lot of history up there too.
No, my teacher used to take us to Nunhead. Sorry, Kathy, I said Numhead. Sorry, Kathy, Nunhead Cemetery. You never get a word wrong, Jennifer. No.
I know. I read that wrong. I had to reread it, so I'm glad you said it.
I want to do great. It's something I've actually done, but it is a good idea, actually, doing the grave rubbings.
Some places, at least around here, they won't let us do grave rub in certain cemeteries where they will not allow us to do grave rubbings anymore, because the cemeteries are now under historical protection. So you can take pictures, but no more grave rubbings anymore. It sucks.
One thing that annoys me, it's nobody's fault. It's time and nature and the elements and everything. Is when you're reading a gravestone and you can read some of it, but the rest is all faded away.
Right.
And you can't read the rest of it, and you're dying to know what it means, or what it is.
I know one cemetery I can get to that still allows gravestone rubbings, but the one that's near my house can't do it anymore. They had over $1,200 worth of vandalism one year. Some kids broke in and did a lot of damage over some, and they damaged a lot of old tombstones from the 1800 all the way up until its early 1900, and it was awful. So I understand why they try to protect them, but in the same time, gravestone rubbings are probably the easiest way to see the whole headstone if most of it's not there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
We just go back to Greyfriars. The other thing I love about Greyfriars is the symbols they get in the headstones. You got a load of wee symbols, carvings, things like cherubs, angels, skeletons, all that kind of thing. And a lot of people just look at them and, all right, look at that skeleton. But they all actually mean something. They're there for a reason.
They are.
Like something.
Which I've been teaching Matt, and Matt knows this because he knows symbols, but he'll go, why was this here? Or what's that symbol? And how come this is this way? So I'm like, okay, that's this way because during the time period, this is what people believe. So you have the symbol of the willow, the flowers, or whatever. Here's a good example. I don't know if it's over there, over in the UK or not, but we have symbols of the broken bud. So it's a flower with the bud, but it's broken. And it's on children's headstones, meaning the meaning is life, as a child, hasn't come into its, hasn't bloomed yet, but broken, meaning that the life had ended early. So that's a huge symbol in a lot of pioneer cemeteries, is the broken bud. The lamb, having the lamb on the tombstone is also a very common one with children. Then the innocence, being the lamb, a lamb of God, being the innocence of. So yeah, I know a lot of symbology. I actually own two books on symbology, cemetery symbology.
Where is it? It's here on my desk. It's on my desk. 2 seconds. Bear with me. Talk amongst yourselves.
My nose is there you go. No, I wish I could show you my books. They're in a box right now. Kind of boxed up our books. So.
It's Jamie Christoffel, the manager, City Dead Tours, who is part of us now. That's his wife. She wrote this, Charlotte. She wrote this book, and every symbol, you could think of, the Singray friars, and explained. I've read this about 3 times. I found it fascinating reading this. I've read it about 3 times because a lot of the symbols that are in here, obviously, every one the Singray friars is in here. But when I was reading the book, I was going to sit. I thought, well, I remember seeing that one. I remember seeing, so that's what it actually means. And it is actually amazing that each, there's, I don't know, a couple of hundred in here, maybe more than that. And they've all got their own individual meanings. And it's a really, really good. You can get that on Amazon, by the way. I'm not trying to sell a book.
Symbology is huge. Symbology tells you about that cemetery. It tells you about those people. It tells you the time period. And then if you notice symbols, like where I'm from, you have the Masons where sometimes they're very elaborate, and then as time goes on, the symbols, they're still similar, but they change over time. And I find that fascinating on how much they change, or an organization does change its name, so the symbol changes. Yeah.
Do you have the skull and crossbones over their symbol on any of your gravestones?
On the East Coast, mostly. You don't see a lot of that here on the West Coast.
It's quite common, it was quite common in the kind of 17th, 18th, 19th century. And
you don't see it on the side.
It's amazing the amount of people used to think it was because, there was a pirate buried there. You see that?
Because of a skull and crossbones.
It
death.
It means, no matter what your stature is in life, death comes to everybody.
Exactly.
But it's really, as I said, it hates when people say they're a pirate.
None of the cemeteries we went to had anything like that. We had lots of lilies. There were lots of lilies, roses, primroses, Tudor roses. There's lots of those on the headstones. Let's see, the ivy, lambs, willows, books were like huge. Gates, opening gates, hands pointed down, hands reaching up. The Oddfellow symbols, the Mason symbols, firefighter symbols.
It's strange you saying there's Tudor roses on them.
Yeah. Lots of Tudor roses, but not for the reason of it, not because they're related to the Tudors. They did it because of the symbology of what the Tudor rose was, not because of anything to do with history. Some people actually a lot of people put symbols on there because if a flower is in bloom, it means they've lived a full life. If the flower is in semi-bloom, it means they had their life cut short. So it had a different meaning over time. And a Tudor rose, maybe on some of them, might mean they actually might have had lineage from, say, England or that area. Not necessarily that they had any connection to the Tudors. But we have the Wheatland Cemetery. A lot of people, because there was a lot of farmers, a lot of wheat farmers, so a lot of people had wheat stalks put on their headstones. So it varies.
I've always been fascinated with headstones, especially the older ones in the British. Usually the richer you were, the more elaborate your headstone was. Mm-hmm. And the other thing about headstones is it's not just the artwork that goes into them. The headstone always also represents a person. That's what, it was somebody's.
And
this person had a life.
I don't know about where you guys are, but it was common practice during a certain time to have the headstone and a footstone. So you had here's the headstone, here's the footstone, so you knew exactly how far that burial was. It's very interesting. And on the initials or be mother or brother would be written on it. Sometimes on a family plot, you'd have the main column of all the different people that were buried there, and then you'd have the footstones indicating where they're all buried in the plot.
Right, there's also the quality of the stone as well. That's true. Kathy's seen, yes, I've seen lots of them. I think you get over here as well, the kind of footstones as well, as you say, to show the. Hi, Elizabeth. Hope you're doing well, honey. But
yeah,
I'm fascinated.
I have, I will say that in the Dutch Flat Cemetery, there wasn't as many footstones as there were in the Colfax Cemetery, and there was only so many footstones in the Auburn Cemetery. So it's neat how it changes from cemetery to cemetery. The Dutch Flat Cemetery had a few old metal headstones, so to speak, or tombstones, and one of them in particular, I thought it was weird because it was a bit of poetry, but to choose this, I forget, I'm going to butcher the poem, so I'm not even going to try, but it basically said,
try.
I don't remember how it goes. I just remember it talks about that I'm not dead, merely sleeping. And I'm like, that's kind of creepy.
Did a famous actor know say that?
I don't know who said it. I just know it was on there, but it's how it was how it was presented on the headstone made it creepy. That's all. It just made it creepy, going, okay, I'm not dead. I merely lay here and sleep. I'm like, okay, sure.
I'm sure there's a famous comedy actor who died in his stone as well. That's going to, I'll need to write that. I'll need to look that up because I'm sure I've seen that before.
Well, no, I know. That's what I'm saying. But that was the only one like that in the entire cemetery. Other ones were dedicated. They would say dedicated to father, loving mother. The children lie here. Oh, that was another one I saw. The children lay here are merely sleeping and waiting for the Lord to wake. I mean, that was kind of interesting and poetic.
That was I. I know these people could not afford just a footstone, but they're not. Frankie, there's a couple of them in Greyfriars. You actually walk over them and don't even realise they're there. It's a bit of stone that's just more embedded in the ground.
That's true. We had the paupers cemetery, or the people that either didn't have family, or they didn't know who they belonged to, or they didn't have money. They do have the area they called the paupers, or the area, and they would get a number, but it wasn't a footstone. In our cemeteries, it'd be like a plaque, like that big, and then it would, if they're lucky, if they knew their name, then it'd be a name. But unfortunately, they'd have a number, and then they'd have the death date, a death year on it. And then they had, I mean, that's what they would do. And then once they were lucky enough, they'd come along with concrete, and then they would make like a marker, this big long tube marker, and stamp the number on it. So it's also in that position. So if the metal marker goes missing, you still have the concrete marker. And not all of those people have names. Some of them are only numbers because no one knew who they were.
This is really, really kind of sad. I mean, so over here, some of them are really embedded in the ground, and through time, they can get covered up, with grass or, whatever.
Sorry, Elizabeth was saying that she doesn't want to go back to Dutch Flat either. She was up there. I believe Elizabeth was up there with Matthew. You guys were filming. I believe that's what he told me. You guys were actually doing a film, which is why he wanted us, or me and Craig, to go up there. Or God, that was bad. For us to go up there to do the cemeteries, because he had already been up there and filmed there. So Elizabeth has been up there before, and so.
Or she does want to get back, she says.
No, you don't want to go back. You don't want to go back. Trust me. You don't want to go back. Trust me. You don't.
I think he's agreed to disagree on that one, by the sounds of it.
I'm telling her, she does not want to go back.
Elizabeth, no, you do not want to get back. Take it from Jennifer.
I know she wants to go back. I get it. It's a beautiful cemetery, but it's so overgrown. I'm not saying I'm just saying right now, until someone comes over there and starts taking care of it and starts trimming it properly, you're going to break your ankle.
That's sad as well. We have them over here, especially the older ones.
Elizabeth, I'm looking out for you, making sure that you don't end up falling over in that cemetery. You probably can handle it more than I can on that negativity, but I'm telling you, unless you are willing to take it slow and you go in the cemetery again, there's so many hidden holes, things that are covered by grass. I mean, I tripped a few times, and I just don't want anyone to break their ankles there.
That's a disclaimer.
That was my disclaimer.
That's a disclaimer, isn't it? I like to find out that died in 1800 in my local area. My aunt had done a family 2 years were so well that you could hardly make out the writing. Exactly, kid. We were out on an investigation on Thursday night. We done 2 locations, and one was an old kirk down Alloway, and some of them there's just no writing left at all. It's just a stone, and that's it. And there's absolutely no writing you can. Or there's other ones you can hardly make any of the writing, out in that.
That's true. We have a few wooden ones that are left behind still in pretty good condition, but there are some of them you can't read anymore because they weathered away. But the wooden headstone is still there.
I would imagine wouldn't it be very resilient? No, in Scotland.
Yeah, majority of the good ones have withered away, but there are quite a few left in the Colfax Cemetery. There were a few left in Dutch Flat Cemetery. I'm thinking the weather conditions must have been just right for them not to disintegrate.
Well, you're in California, sunshine and trees and stuff, so it wouldn't stand a chance in Scotland. It'd last a week, probably in Scotland.
Well, the one near me here in Marysville, there's only a remnants of one wooden headstone left, and there's not much of it left. Up in the hills, you'll find more. Elizabeth says, I want to go back to the Dutch Flat Hotel as well. There was activity there while we were staying there when Ghost and I filmed there. Yeah. We didn't get a chance to go into the Dutch Flat Hotel. We were outside of it. You can have it. You can have it. I'm there. There's something there. I didn't want to even. No, I don't think I'll set foot in that hotel.
Matthew told me about that hotel in the room that he stayed in. And I think he was hoping to go back there and stay again and do an investigation in there. I think
it's creepy. It's outside, has all these negative vibes outside of it. I'm a firm believer that I'm going to go to a place I'm okay with because I've done the research on. I haven't done enough research on the Dutch Flat Hotel to validate or to want to go back, but just from being outside of it, I don't want to go in it. It didn't feel welcoming.
What's the history with it? I think it's quite a negative history to it. Or?
I'm not sure. I know that Matt and Elizabeth were there. They were filming. I know they did a little bit of history. At least Matt said that they did a little bit of history while they were there. I just know that looking at the front door, the door was open. I had no interest on going out of the truck and walking into that hotel. It was not inviting.
Again, as you said earlier on, your gut instinct tells you don't go in and follow your gut.
Right. And that was, if I go back, it's gonna have to be after I do research. I'm not gonna step foot in that hotel until after I do research. I need to be prepared. I was not prepared that day to go in to something that had that much negative energy on the outside.
Kathy says it sounds great.
I haven't gone to many negative places, but I've always been prepared. I was not grounded. I didn't have any of my stones with me. I was not prepared for that. So yeah, I wasn't going to go in. I wasn't even. Nope.
What about talk about hotels? Totally off the cemetery track. I know, but what about the Cecil Hotel? What's your views on the Cecil? We did the Cecil a couple of months ago.
I've not been there. I've been in the area of where the Cecil Hotel is. It's a hotel. It's got a lot of negative connotation, but a lot of positive connotation. I think it has I think it's been mixed a lot. And not to mention of what's nearby, and it's a hotel. I until that is one hotel. Until I am standing in front of it, I won't know if I should go into it. I know I've seen the documentary, I've read about it, I've seen it being used in different shows. I don't know if it's a place I can go into until I'm outside of it.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, it's not speaking to me as in, oh yeah, you want to go there. It's more of, okay, it's there, it's a hotel, and that's where I'm at with it.
Kathy is saying, Kathy's the same mind frame as you, Jennifer. You know, if you soon be somewhere, don't go in and find out why. I mean, the Cecil Hotel, we covered it with Patty Negri. She came in, she's been there with Ghost Adventures and what have you.
It's been covered by so many different television shows, psychics, mediums, and people. And then you have the history of a girl that goes missing and found in the water tank. You had 2 serial killers that also stayed there. You had all those deaths, the ones that fell out the window, a baby that got killed. There's so much negativity that has happened in that hotel. Not to mention it was kept run down on purpose to keep the costs down. So who knows how much energy that hotel.
Mm-hmm. Well, we read Kathy's comment wrong. Sorry, Kathy, she meant do go in. Do go in, yes, best way to find out why. Sorry, Kathy, but I misread your last comment. I mean, Cecil, the girl who went missing, she was found in the water tank. I watched the documentaries on it, etc., and that was more or less explained what happened.
It was and it wasn't, because now they're thinking that the video itself from the elevator, they think it may have been doctored or manipulated or part of it missing, because of the numbers on the bottom don't correlate, and then there's a part where her hand kind of looks funky and it's bending in a certain way that shouldn't be bending. And there's just so much about that video that I don't think it's the whole video. I think part of it's either missing or damaged over time, and we're never going to know the whole story.
I know there is a bit in the video with the elevator where the door seems to jump.
Mm-hmm. If people who know video, I know Matt knows video pretty well. If you look at the video, you can tell that there's a jump in the footage, as if whether it had been stopped and then recording again, or if it had jumped or recorded over. It's hard to say. I'm not a video expert, but when I'm looking at that video, it looks incomplete. It looks doctored in some places, but that's just me looking at the video.
No, I agree with you that it does look a bit, it looks like it's been tampered with.
Yeah, and that's the consensus of a lot of people. Even in the most recent documentary that's on Netflix right now, there's a person in there that actually talks about that possibly being doctored or the video being tampered with. So that's not an uncommon theory right now. As I said, the Cecil Hotel, if I go, I go. If I don't, I don't. It's not on. I have this bucket. It's full of things I could possibly do. I don't have a list. I don't have the bucket list. I have a bucket. It's full. As I go, I pull it out. Okay, do I want to go there? Okay, that's how I am. No bucket list, just the bucket.
What about the Stanley Hotel?
The Stanley Hotel, I would love to go to. I would love to go to the Stanley Hotel, just because of the architecture, the flooring, the way everything looks, just the idea of it, why people go there, why Stephen King stayed there. I mean, that's why I would go. I want to see the maze that's outside.
Oh, I forgot about that maze. I would love to go there. I would love to stay for a winter there. just totally cut off. You know.
Yeah. No, I'd love to do that. There's a lot of hotels I would love to go to that people are, I guess you say, popular with the paranormal, but I like going there more for the history versus the ghosts sometimes, because I think the walls and the energy speak more to me than the ghosts sometimes do.
Aye. Yeah. Oh, no, I agree with you. You do. There's quite a few locations where people presume it's haunted or it's active, but there is actually more history than there is activity.
Right. Or residual history. The past is being represented over and over again. I'm not saying that there isn't anything that could be there, because just like any cemetery, a cemetery could. I've been in cemeteries that are definitely haunted. I've been in cemeteries that the past is repeating. I've been in cemeteries where people have brought things with them and didn't know it. So there's too many possibilities, too many variables to test. You can't possibly test them all.
That's it. I mean, that's the thing I find. One of the things I find fascinating with the paranormal is it's that big. There's that many. There's that many possibilities, theories.
Yes.
Opinions, views, stories, and we're never going to know the real truth. Elizabeth's been to Stanley. She was a little girl.
Yeah. As I said, Stanley Hotel has become the pariah of the tourist trap. It's a beautiful hotel, but it's now a tourist trap, unfortunately. I'm not saying that there's nothing there. I'm just saying, if you're going to go in the off season. Go when there's hardly anyone there. Right now, there's hardly anyone there because of the COVID.
Well, that's it. Go during the winter. If you go to the Anne Frank house in Amsterdam, that's haunted. As I walked up the stairs behind the wardrobe, with a cold chill, like a ghost walking through me.
Did he go there? I'm trying to think if my husband went there. He lived in that area once as a military, but he always claims that he never feels anything. But I will tell you that sometimes I think he feels things and doesn't want to admit it.
I've met people with that before. They claim to be a total skeptic, which is a good thing. So you've got to be skeptical as well, but they'll feel something and they'll think, no, I'm not going to say anything.
Yeah, well, at the end of this month, Matt, Craig, and I will be heading to the state of Nevada to do an investigation. We will be checking out the Pioneer Cemetery that's nearby, the location of which we are investigating, and the other one, which is Pioneer, but I don't think anyone is buried there from where we are investigating. I think it's the other cemetery, but there's two cemeteries nearby of the place that we're going. And so far, I'm the only one who knows the complete history of the place. I know and have a list of those who had perished. And so we're hoping to have a good investigation. We're doing let's see, I think we have 3 nights worth of investigating that we get to do. So we get the whole place to ourselves.
So that's coming up on your side of the pond.
We'll be there from June 20th through the 23rd. 23rd. And yeah, we get the whole place to ourselves. So yay.
That's only a couple of weeks away. Just before I tell you this side of the pond, just Kathy's comment there. She's a young man in my house. He died 15th. I've learned so much from him. Now that'd be fascinating. We need to talk more about that, Kathy. If you want to drop us a wee message, a private message, I think that'd be 1536. I think that'd be really fascinating.
Yeah, and I swear our cemetery fascination has not ended, because in July, that would be our wonderful investigation that we get to do in July is going to be at a cemetery at night. Yay!
Excellent.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that. So I've been in contact with the person who's in charge, and we were going back and forth with dates. So does this date work? Does this date work? Does this date work? We finally narrowed it down to a date. So we get.
I know that feeling well.
Yeah,
You're
well,
playing.
but we're only allowed, get this, we're only allowed between 3 and 4 hours worth of investigation. That's all we get, unless things are popping off. If things are popping off, they'll let us stay longer, but that's all we get.
Well, hopefully things pop off.
Well, I can hope.
Good way, you know, and you know, I mean that in a good way. So that's what's coming from our USA team.
Those are our two lined up. Yep. You know, I can say where we're going in Nevada. I was going to keep it quiet for a while, but you know, it's 2 weeks away. People I know have been there. It's been filmed. It's been on TV. I have unfinished question and business there. That's probably why I want to go back so much. Those of you who've ever watched Ghost Adventures or other shows, oh, thank you, Elizabeth. Known as the Miners Cabin in Nevada. I've been there with other teams. I've been there with other places. I've been there during conventions, but I'm going to tell you, those of you anyone who's watching this now, I'm sorry, no one else is going to come there. We're not going to let you in. We're booked. 3 of us. That's it. Sorry. You can watch our findings afterwards, or you can book it yourselves afterwards, because it does cost a pretty penny to rent the damn place.
Well, Elizabeth says she's heard of it.
Elizabeth, you should know of it. As I said, it's been all over the place. Ghost Adventures has been there, I think, twice, maybe 3 times. I can't remember. I've been there a handful of times, maybe 5 times. I lost count how many times I've been there. But I'm looking forward to going back. I'm looking forward to getting questions answered, hopefully. So we'll see.
I'm looking forward to watching it. I'm looking forward to seeing it. So they say that's on the American side of the pond. Over here, what we got, we just finished filming Darkest Mile on Wednesday, Thursday there, so that'll be up on our YouTube channel by Monday at the very latest. Next week, we got out an investigation on Monday night. We're going back to where we were Thursday night, just to see if we can verify that what we picked up on Thursday night. Next week we've got live on Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, and then next Saturday, Sarah and I are starting our parapole again. I don't know if everybody knows what parapole was. When Sarah and I first started PIH, we used to do every week a parapole. Every week we pick up a subject, talk about it, and then open it up for people in the chat to give their opinions on it.
Love that.
We're starting that again. I don't know if everybody read on our Facebook page. Unfortunately, we had to postpone our Pendle trip due to this new variant that's been discovered down in Burnley where we were staying. There was 4 new hotspots emerged overnight, so we thought it best, you know, in the interest of everybody's safety, and for those who were meeting up, we just to postpone it until the numbers go down, or you know, whatever, till the situation's better. And so instead of that, what we're doing is we're doing the Mary Queen of Scots Trail, which is a route round about Scotland, also, you know, also connected to the famous lady.
I know. With all the ones we're doing, dealing with tragedy and pioneers.
So it's all doom and gloom. It's all good.
It's all doom and gloom with us, but you know what? I don't know. I happen to like tragic stories, so I guess that's just me.
Kathy's saying I'm in Edinburgh 12 to 30. We'd love to meet up for a night. We can maybe arrange that, Kathy. That's right, Kathy. Kathy's the lady that wants to do a roly-poly with us. Am I right, Kathy? I think she put in the comments the other day she wanted to do a roly-poly with us. Kathy says she's related to Mary Queen of, I think she's talking about Mary Queen of Scots.
That's cool. It's always neat to find out who, if you're related to someone famous or disturbing in history.
Yeah, Kathy's a lot. We'll get something arranged, Kathy doll. Don't worry. So that's what we've got coming up, an investigation on Monday. And we'll get Mark I'll try and say his name, Edgington, and next Thursday is the author of the Haunting of Huntingfordshire. He's also been on Paranormal Lockdown with Nick Croft, and then Friday we got Karen coming in, Karen Perkins, for some witchy stuff. So we've got quite a bit coming up, quite a bit planned on both sides.
I think so. I'm trying to get something planned for August. I just haven't had a chance to get my contacts back. Everyone's being quiet. It's weird. I'm like, it's like I'm fishing, going, okay, I'm trying to reel you in. Come on.
Well, that's always last year, though. We, try to set people up and what have you, and organise things, and what it worked out for us. I mean, right now we're still booked for London in September.
Yeah. Well, as per usual, in the meantime, if people want to ask questions or even privately send me something or whatever, feel free to question. Hey, I've heard this. I mean, who knows? We might actually know what the hell we're talking about. Oh my God. That might be cool.
No, you're totally right. Anybody's got any questions for Jennifer or the team or any, just pop them in.
Or if there's one place that you want that you think would be kind of interesting to hear about or talk about, let us know. I'll dig it up. I'll research it.
Well,
maybe you never know.
She's got a big shovel. That's it.
Shovel. It's as big as a snow shovel. Actually, I think it's bigger than a snow shovel, but
if there is any subject that you're interested in or you want Jennifer to start digging in, let Jennifer know a lot, anybody in PIH know, and Jennifer's the one to dig it up,
I'll dig anything, even if it's across the pond. I'll still dig it up.
Even if it's over here, So I think we'll call it a night at that. Thanks to everybody in chat. We'll be back on Tuesday night at 9 o'clock. No, in fact, we're back Monday night doing our investigation. That'll be on Facebook again anyway. Thank you to Jennifer. As always, it's a pleasure for you to come in, see your little cheery face. So to everybody in chat, take care, folks, and we'll talk to you all very soon. Bye-bye.